Thanks for joining us for this edition of Nightique. Well, the holiday season is upon us, and that means everybody will be getting together, parties and such, and eating and drinking. And so we've got Dr. Timothy Quinn with us tonight, and he's going to talk to us about his prescription for a healthy holiday season. What to do and what not to do when you go to the parties and you're tempted to eat the wrong foods and gain 10 pounds over the holiday season. He's going to give us his insight in that area. And also, you know, a lot of people get depressed during the holidays too. You think it's a wonderful, joyous time. Some people, it affects them the exact opposite way and they become very depressed. And we have a higher suicide rate during the holidays than other times of the year. He's going to address that. He's going to talk about why that occurs and what you can do to alleviate that propensity if you happen to be one of those folks out there. Also, the healthy lifestyle choices in general that he would prescribe for us to get into as we look at the new year. How do we start eating right? How do we get on the right regimen going forward for the new year to come? All of that with Dr. Timothy Quinn coming up on this edition of Nightique. Stay tuned.
Since 1849, Carter Jewelers has been a part of Jackson's rich history. Over 163 years later, we've not only survived, Carter Jewelers has flourished. From generation to generation, we've established a tradition of excellence. Our reputation is built on customer satisfaction, service, and trust. Every piece of jewelry is handpicked, so you know you're getting the best value.
Nobody says I do like we do at Carter Jewelers.
Come see us and be part of our history.
Ingalls Shipbuilding is hiring electricians, structural welders, machinists, ship fitters, pipe fitters, and pipe welders in our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Signing bonuses available for pipe welders only. Positions are union represented. Come build your career with Ingalls Shipbuilding. Go to www.huntingtoningalls.com/careers or call 888-935-1507. Well, Dr. Timothy Quinn, Doc, thank you for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You know, it's great to have you on as a guest because we have our own personal physician giving us advice.
That's right. Somebody gets sick, hey, we're ready for them.
Well, now, you know, looking at the holiday season, we're into the holiday season, and let's talk about some things to be aware of. And,
right, to look out for.
Let me ask you this question first off. You know, a lot of times people suffer from depression during the holidays. You would think not. You would think everybody's happy, but some people are very sad.
Right.
Right?
Well, the deal is during the holiday season, it's a festive time. You have family, friends, different gatherings, and everybody's having a great time. But for those out there who might not have the best relationship with their family, their friends, maybe their spouse, it's also a time when some can reflect on what they don't have. And say someone might have marginal depression where they have a little bit of what's called a sad affect, but they're not clinically depressed. Or during the holiday season when everybody's so happy and maybe their situation is not what they want it to be, then they have more time to reflect on the fact that, you know, their situation is not great and they can have a situation where they have an exacerbation of depression, which is very common during this time of year.
You know, that's sort of analogous to this theory, like in broadcasting. When we're talking to students about broadcasting or just in general, somebody newcomer, let's say if it's radio, like right now I'm talking to you, right? I'm talking at a certain level right now.
Right.
Now, if I was just starting out, you know, in broadcasting, I might do the same interview, but since I'm just starting, I might be talking about like that, Doc, and because I'm talking like that, I can't really hear very much, and I can't really, the people can't hear me so much, so I'm not very dynamic. And then if I'm talking like that, and then you flip the channel, and the next guy's talking like that, and he's saying, you know, he's peaking, he's got energy, and he's got power.
It's all about perspective.
You see, it's the level drops, you know.
Right.
So it's like if you're sort of depressed and you're around everybody really happy, now you're really depressed.
Right. It's the perspective. It's how you see it, and it's what's going on around. You know, it's the situation. But you know, the deal is a lot of people out there can have exacerbations of depression during the holiday, which is more prevalent than other times of the year, for exactly what you're saying. People reflect off what they see, and if everybody else is so happy and they're not super duper happy, then they can even become less happy.
And suicidal thoughts, perhaps.
Oh yeah, well that's why it's so important. You know, I really want to have this segment because, you know, suicide happens. We had the recent loss of the soap opera star. His son took his life. I saw it in social media. And, you know, it happens. It's a very dangerous thing. That's why we have to be aware, because as loved ones, such as, you know, family members, friends, we have to look out for, you know, our loved ones to make sure that they're not exhibiting those symptoms that we should be aware of. Because,
all right, what are some symptoms?
Right, well, what we want to do is, you know, just check in on people. Maybe we have a cousin that we haven't seen in a while, you know, they haven't been going to work. We want to check in on them. But some of the symptoms that someone of depression would exhibit would be sadness. Maybe they're a little bit sad all the time, and you can kind of pick it up. You know, they're not very happy. They could have decreased interest. You know, maybe your grandmother used to go to church every Sunday. She'd go to bingo on Saturday night, go on the church bus trip to the boat. But lately, she just wants to stay at home. I don't want to go. I'm okay. Y'all go ahead on. They can feel guilty. Maybe they talk about guilt. They wish they would have spent more time with their children or their wife, or maybe a loved one who had a spouse to pass away. They feel guilty because they didn't spend that time with them. They can have decreased energy. They're just always tired, just so tired all the time. And you know, they sleep a lot, but they're even more tired with excessive sleeping. They can have decreased concentration. Maybe for the students, they're doing poorly in school. They just can't concentrate on their homework because they're so preoccupied with the depression. Appetite can be increased or decreased. Some people during depression eat more, some people eat less, but the warning sign is a change in the appetite. But the main thing that you want to look for, especially as a physician when I do an evaluation, is I ask them, you know, do you have any thoughts of harming yourself or harming someone else? Because that's when it can be deadly.
So it's in this type of depression, it's not only harming oneself, but possibly even harming someone else?
Oh yes, oh yes. They apprehended, I was watching the news this morning, they apprehended a student that went to the school. He had a gun, and he told a fellow classmate that he was going to, you know, shoot his ex-girlfriend and some other guy, and, you know, this guy was depressed. You know, I'm assuming, but the bottom line is depression can lead someone into harming someone else, such as homicide, taking someone else's life.
Now, when you were here the last time, we talked about, I guess, healthy ways to, you know, lifestyle choices in staying healthy, so you don't get sick in the first place.
Right.
All right, if we apply some of those ideas to depression, must we go on to some drug regimen, or is there a way to heal ourselves?
I'm glad you said that. Now, the one thing I do want to clarify is depression is a sickness. It is a sickness, and it's been medically proven that there is a decrease in the hormones in one's brain, or the neuropeptides, I'm sorry, especially the serotonin level. And most of the medications out there, the most common ones such as Zoloft, Lexapro, Paxil, they increase the level of the serotonin in the brain. But the bottom line is there are alternate treatments for depression other than medication. And some of these include psychotherapy. Exercise has been shown to decrease depression, to increase one's mood. But the bottom line is, the first thing is we have to be aware. And if you or a loved one is exhibiting some of these symptoms that we talked about earlier of depression, it's a good idea to say, hey, you know, you might talk to your wife, hey, baby, let's go see your doctor, and talk to your doctor so you can let the doctor know what's going on. But the first thing that you have to convey to that person, or even to yourself, is if you go to your doctor and you let them know that you're having these symptoms, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean that you're insane. It just means that you're having a tough time right now and you need some help. And I tell people all the time, the only crazy people are those that don't believe that they should get help when they really should. Because the deal is, it's very smart and intelligent to get help if you need it, because as we said, it could save your life or someone else's life.
I think a lot of times people don't want to admit it. They don't want to admit that it's even possible that they're suffering from depression.
Right, right. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I mean, the deal is, if you're somebody out there trying to get help, I think that's brilliant. And the other factor is, if you have a job And let's say you go see a physician because you know you've had a depressive episode and you're getting treatment. You can't be discriminated against either. You can't be fired, or you know there are laws out there that will protect you. You know, a lot of people fear that if they get labeled with depression, you know, their career is going to end. But at the end of the day, if you're somebody out there that's having those symptoms or you have a loved one, go get help, because that's the smart thing to do.
What is a depressive episode?
A depressive episode is someone that's going through a depressive time in their life.
What might occur in a depressive episode?
Well, it just depends person to person. You can't really say this is the way it's going to happen, but the bottom line is this person's level of functioning is less during that period of time. But the deal is, you know, help is available, but you got to let the doctor know what's going on.
Now, we talked about this right before we went on, seasonal depressive
disorder.
Right. Okay. Now, let me give you an example of something that I encountered.
Right.
One time I was, a long time ago, I guess in the early 90s, I went to Europe and went to a couple of locations, had some satellite business that we were trying to do. And so it was around Christmas time, so it was very wintry over there. And there was one location where people would gather. It was like a gym.
Yeah.
You go work out. But in this particular place, there was no workout equipment. All it was a big room with heavy-duty lights shining down. And so the people were sitting around in there under the lights as if they were in a suntan booth, but there was no suntan going on.
Right.
It was just lights.
Right.
So they explained to me that people would come here because the light, the infusion of the heavy-duty lights throughout, let's say, an hour or two a day, would help them with their depression, because they were not getting any light outside because it was cloudy all the time.
Right.
And this was a therapy for depression. Is that the same thing we're talking about?
Well, yes. I mean, the deal is, you know, just situational, because during this time of year we have less hours of sunlight. You know, it gets dark at 5:30. But the deal is that does contribute to depression. If someone has a decreased mode, you know, as far as their activity, you know, they're not getting that activity, they're not getting out around people, they're being more seclusive, that does lead to a higher incidence of depression. So, you know, I've heard of research that have explored phototherapy for depression treatment as an alternate to medication, or maybe as an adjunct where they would do that in addition to the medicine.
Now as a person, as just a common what do you call it, a plebeian walking around, wondering about these kinds of drugs that they give people for depression. My first impression is that sometimes the drugs would be as bad as the disease. In other words, you might be depressed, and then you take the drug, and then you're numb.
Well, not necessarily.
You're sort of like maybe I don't want to say a walking zombie, a living zombie, but then you become zombified in somewhere where you're not. Then you're not able to be effective at anything because you're drugged.
Well, the most
is that incorrect?
No, that's not correct. That is incorrect. Yes, that is incorrect.
You get my drift, though. Right?
I know what you're saying. Those are some of the myths that are out there that people believe. But the most common medications for depression are the serotonin reuptake inhibitors such as Paxil, Zoloft, Lexapro. What these drugs do is they decrease the destruction of serotonin in your brain, which is a neuropeptide, and you get a buildup of it, because research has shown that people with depression have a chemical imbalance. They have a lower level of different neuropeptides, to include serotonin as one of the main ones. These drugs, your brain automatically makes serotonin and then it breaks it down, and you keep a balance or a amount of it in your brain. The deal is, what these drugs do is they decrease the serotonin reductase esterase enzymes that break the serotonin down, so you get a buildup of this neuropeptide, which alleviates depression for many. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks for the medication to even work to build up that level of the serotonin, but you don't, with this medication, there's no zombie effect. Now, if you were someone who had depression and anxiety, and you took what are called benzodiazepines, such as Xanax, some of these medications, you can get that zombie side effect from those. But the most common depression medications, you don't get that side effect.
In the old days, the medicines that they prescribed, maybe they were a little bit more zombie-like.
Well, they had more side effects.
More side effects.
More side effects. But the newer medications don't have as many side effects. And what I like a lot is the newer medications are now in the generic phase, because the patent is out. so they're more affordable.
So, okay, give us an example of something generic. If a particular drug would be $100 a month, and you decide to go with the generic version, you might spend a whole lot less.
Oh yes. Well, the deal is, when you go out and buy medication, in a lot of cases, you're paying for the research, the clinical trials, the scientists, and all this. That's very expensive. And the manufacturer has what's called a patent, which is a period of time before the medicine can be copied. Once the patent is out, then the other companies come in and they might just change 1 or 2 chemical bonds, but it's technically the same medication. But it's like like the Beats headphones, you know. You make some Beat headphones and you just, instead of the B, you put R on there. It's pretty much the same thing, but now it's not so expensive because the company that copies it does not have to pay for the research, the clinical trials, the scientists. They just pay for the raw materials. So the bottom line is, generics and brands in a lot of cases are very similar with the same effect. It's just that the brand has to run its patent out in order for the generics to become available.
I see. Well, Doc, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back and talk more about the holiday season.
Oh, yes.
And how people can stay healthy during the season.
There you go.
Okay, Dr. Timothy Quinn. We'll be right back after this. Ingalls Shipbuilding is hiring electricians, structural welders, machinists, ship fitters, pipe fitters, and pipe welders in our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Signing bonuses available for pipe welders only. Positions are union represented. Come build your career with Ingalls Shipbuilding. Go to www.huntingtoningalls.com/careers or call 888-935-1507.
Stop paying expensive repair bills now. When you own a car, SUV, or truck, sooner or later it will break down, and that will cost you thousands of dollars. Just one transmission job could cost over $3,000. A new engine could cost over $4,000. Did you know that the odds of your car breaking down are greater than your being in an accident? You wouldn't drive without auto insurance. If you own a 2002 vehicle or newer with less than 125,000 miles, a vehicle service contract from CarTection.com could save you thousands of dollars. Qualifying is easy. A custom plan is created for you. You select the coverage that's right for your vehicle and budget. Call for a no-obligation, risk-free quote now. Your covered repairs will be paid directly to your mechanic for you. Get the coverage you really need. A vehicle service contract from CarTection.com. We'll keep you on the road with a coverage you can count on. Call for a no-obligation, risk-free quote now. Call 800-708-9923. That's 800-708-9923.
Now, Dr. Timothy Quinn is with us. Now, Doctor, how important is it to, like a method actor, to get into the role before you enter the role, to study the role? And in this case, we're talking about the holiday season, right? And so now you're dressed for the for a black tie event, right?
Well, see, they see it and they can imagine going to the black tie event.
Okay, now, the holiday season, people eat a lot, and that's not good. And then they eat the wrong things, and they drink a lot too.
They sure do.
Okay, some common sense advice from our physician.
Well, the bottom line is, during the holiday season, we have to remember to take care of ourselves, you know, and we go to those holiday dinners. It's very festive. They have all these foods that we normally don't eat, and we're probably not going to make the best decision. So what we should do is prepare before we get there, and then we're more likely to make the better decision.
Okay, so how do we prepare?
Well, we have to have a strategy. We have to have a strategy. Now, I'm just going to use myself. I wore my tuxedo, and you know, this is what I do before I go to the party, okay? Number one, do not go to the party hungry. That's the worst thing you can do, because they're going to have that food laid out. I mean, oh my goodness, I go to these parties, you would not believe the food they have. And I have to make a decision. Am I going to beeline to the vegetable tray, which I know I need to do? Maybe eat a little white fish, you know, with the vegetables, drink water instead of the alcohol. If I'm not hungry, chances are I have a better chance of being successful at that. But what I noticed, most people when they go to the party, because last year I actually did like a little survey, a little personal survey. And I had my date, and I told my date, I said, we're gonna do a little survey, and she's always laughing because she knows what I'm up to. And I just, you know, I said, hey, yeah, this food is really good. I said, I bet you need all day getting ready to come to this event. And and you know, the people, they unanimously, most people say, I just ate a little bit early this morning because I wanted to save up so when I got here I'd be hungry and I could just really enjoy myself. That's the worst thing you can do, because you're going to eat the wrong things and take in the calories, and then you're going to hate yourself for it the next day. So the number one strategy is eat before you get there, and you'll be more likely to make a better decision.
It's sort of like going grocery shopping hungry. You know, it's not a
They've
good,
actually
not a
done
good thing.
research on this, going to the grocery store hungry. Research has shown in multiple studies, if you go to the grocery store and you've eaten, you'll make better decisions. You'll make better decisions.
Now, I was reading in some literature that you sent me before we did the show about drinking water before you go and drink alcohol. Tell us about that. That's a good one. That's a great one.
If you're at the party, you're gonna want to walk around with a glass in your hand, because we're people that do what the other people do. Put some water in there. They'll never know. That's what I do. You know, I just put water. I might have a drink here and there, but what I do is if I have one drink, I have 2 waters, and I'll just put it in the cup, the cup that everybody else is drinking. They just think I'm drinking something clear. That's fine. Let them think it. But the deal is, if you drink a lot of water with your alcohol, number one, you won't drink too much. Number two, if you do drink a little bit more than you wanted to, it keeps you from getting sick because you're hydrated. The main thing that makes you sick when you drink too much is you get dehydrated. If you drink a lot of water, you feel well. And the third thing is, chances are, you know, we're not going to be going to the holiday party in our limousine or something. We got to drive home. And there are a lot of families out there, you know, good people driving. You don't want to drive intoxicated because, you know, a lot of people think, oh, I can get a DUI, but you can actually harm someone. There are people in prison right now that are good, law-abiding citizens that might have had too much to drink, made a bad decision and drove home, got into an accident, and someone was hurt, you know. And they've done interviews on these people in prison that have been in these situations, and they're not so hurt that they're in prison, that their life is ruined, that their families no longer have them. They have to live with the guilt that they hurt another person that did not deserve to be hurt.
Now, the lifestyle choices that we make, we've talked about that before too. Give us some advice on you know, ongoing lifestyle choices that will keep us healthy and keep us alive.
Well, you know, we're focusing on the holiday. You know, a lot of people have some time off from work. A lot of people have family in town. That's a good time to start an exercise program because, number one, you're off work. Number two, you got a babysitter in town because you got your mom or your mother-in-law, whoever. You can get out of the house because I know a lot of people don't like the mother-in-law. But the bottom line is the holiday is a good time to get a strategy together for the year to come, because the number one New Year's resolution is, you tell me.
Lose weight.
Lose weight, right? So maybe over the holidays you can come up with a strategy. Maybe, you know, join an athletic gym or whatnot, get a trainer, get a exercise schedule. Take advantage of the time off from work, because most people are going to get a few days off work during the holidays. You can take advantage. Now, a lot of my patients, it's so funny, I had a lady yesterday, and I told her that I was going to bring her back in 8 weeks. And we were going to decide if she needed the cholesterol medicine because she was right on the edge. And I said, over this next 8 weeks, I want you to eat healthy, exercise. And the first thing she says, Dr. Quinn, can we make it 4 months instead of 2 months? Because she said, during the holiday season, you know I'm going to do bad. It's hard to do well over the holidays. It really is.
It really is.
You know, you're going to all these different parties and things. But what you have to do is just get that strategy together. You know, when you go there, number one, do not go there hungry. Number two, you know, if you indulge in alcoholic beverages, I say keep it to the minimum of 2, no more, and drink a lot of water, and that'll help you, you know, so you'll feel well. And number 3, just make wise decisions. You know, usually there's a spread. There's something on that food selection that's healthy. Go for the healthy.
Doc, we want to thank you for being with us, and we're going to have you on again soon.
Okay.
And we'll talk about the new year coming up and things that folks can do to get on the right track health-wise for the new year.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you for being with us. That's Dr. Timothy Quinn, and thank you for joining us on this edition of Nightique. Good night.
Since 1849, Carter Jewelers has been a part of Jackson's rich history. Over 163 years later, we've not only survived, Carter Jewelers has flourished. From generation to generation, we've established a tradition of excellence. Our reputation is built on customer satisfaction, service, and trust. Every piece of jewelry is handpicked, so you know you're getting the best value.
Nobody says I do like we do at Carter Jewelers.
Come see us and be part of our history.
Ingalls Shipbuilding is hiring electricians, structural welders, machinists, ship fitters, pipe fitters, and pipe welders in our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Signing bonuses available for pipe welders only. Positions are union represented. Come build your career with Ingalls Shipbuilding. Go to www.huntingtoningalls.com/careers or call 888-935-1507. Well, that's Dr. Timothy Quinn. Great advice as we look at the new year. It's a chance to get started right and the healthy way for 2015. Take his advice. We'll have him back regularly on Nightique. We're archiving all of these shows at Nightique, Nightique, Nightique.com. And all of these shows are archived in HD. We've got Bobby Rush there. We've got Mr. Sip, the Mississippi Blues Child, along with Dr. Quinn and many others. So please feel free to go to Nightique.com and take a look at some of the archived shows. And there you can also contact us. There is a mechanism where you can send a message to us. Let us know who you think might be a great guest for us to have on Nightique, and we'll get in touch with them and we'll have them on the show. We'd like to welcome our affiliates now, not only in Jackson, but also in Meridian. That's the Cozy TV channel there, and also CW in Hattiesburg. Welcome to Nightique. I'm Edward St. Pé. We'll see you next time on Nightique.